Hey there, I have lesson 3 on strumming. The first one was kind of the basics, the introduction, and the second one was talking about the difference between simple rhythms and syncopated rhythms. And today we're going to talk about accenting to kind of make your strumming a little bit more interesting. It's a great way of taking a very basic strumming pattern, very simple, and changing it up in different ways to turn one strumming pattern into multiple strumming patterns. Yeah, again, kind of my point of talking about this is to make sure that you're not getting out there and just doing the same strumming groove on every song because it's all you can do. The idea is to, on acoustic guitar in particular, is to have as many right-hand strumming patterns, grooves, feels that you can have, and it'll make your playing much more interesting, okay? So today we're going to talk about accenting, and I can think of 3 ways, or probably more ways. Right now I'm going to do this video, I'm going to post it, and I'm going to go, dang, I thought of 3 more ways. But there's 3 ways that you can basically accent a strum and make it louder than a different strum, okay? So basically the idea is that you're going to have a normal volume, and then you have the accented, okay? So there's 3 ways we can do this. Quickly, one is just hitting harder or softer. Hitting all the strings harder and softer, okay? Another way we can do it is without changing too much of the intensity by which you strum, because that can be hard to do, but just changing the number of strings that you're hitting. So you can go from hitting all 6 to hitting just a couple, or even 1. Okay, we're going to talk more about that. And then a third way, and we're going to talk about this way in the next video. So this video is on accenting. We're going to talk about muting in the next video. And so muting is another way that you can create accents. So you mute strums and then you unmute them to get the accent. So that would be something like this. Okay, so the chords I'm going to use for this example, for this lesson, are just basically G, 4-finger G chord. And move the first finger and second finger down 1 string, and we're going to play a C2 chord. And then if you bring your thumb around to mute the bottom string, or you can mute it with this finger, or you can just try not to hit it. But we don't really want to hear that low string open ringing out at all, okay? I'm going to set my metronome for 100. And so we're going to talk about hitting harder and softer. So we can just start with a G chord. Don't worry about changing yet between 2 chords. We're going to stay on 1 chord, but the idea is we'll do 2 chords so that you don't lose track of where the downbeats are, because we'll change where the accent's going to be, and that might throw you off a little bit. So right now we're just going to accent on 1, and I'm playing, the groove we're going to play is downstroke 8th note. So it's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and. So we're just accenting 1. See that? Okay, let me get 100 up here. So I'm basically hitting all the strings, but I'm just hitting harder on 1. Okay, let's do it on 1 and 3. So we're going to accent 1, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm just hitting harder on those, on beats 1 and 3, and kind of more softly brushing the strings on all the other 8th notes, okay? And I'm going to include notation here, so you can start. I'm going to do a video at some point on the understanding the notation, but I put it up there. Even if you don't understand it, you'll start to pick it up. You'll start to see what I'm doing is lining up with what's happening up here, and that will help you get to the point where you can at least read some rhythmic notation, which is always good. I always recommend being able to have some way to communicate rhythms or notes to others and other musicians. So it's always good to learn how to read music at some point. It's not critical, but it's a great tool, and can be. And rhythmic notation isn't exactly music notation, it's just the rhythm aspect. Okay, so now I'm going to put the accent on 2 and 4, which is where you normally would have a snare drum if you were playing with a drummer. Boom, pop, boom, pop, boom, 2, 3, 4, like that, okay? So now I'm going to do the same G chord, and this time I'm going to change to C so you can hear where the downbeat is, where 1 is, because that will be when the chord changes. So it'll be this. So you see what's happening there? You're getting kind of a backbeat feel. You're getting kind of a drummer feel with just a very simple. Okay? And then now, here's what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the accent, since we're all downstrokes, we're good. I'm going to put the accent on the and of 2. And now, remember we talked about syncopated versus simple patterns. Now we're taking a simple pattern of just solid eighth notes. And we're going to put an accent on 1 and the and of 2, and we're going to create a syncopated sound without having to play syncopated. It's really cool. So this is what that sounds like. And I'm going to again change on every bar so you can hear where 1 is when the chord changes. And again, I'm strumming all the strings. Do this again. Okay, so now I'm going to do accent on 1, the and of 2, and 4. So it's going to be kind of like this 3 pulse on top of the 8 strums. So it sounds like this. I want to add that 16th note in there. Play a little slower, so if you're having a hard time keeping up, if you're playing along, if you're having a hard time keeping up, I'll take it a little slower. Here we go. Now I'm just going to do it with just the G chord. Okay, so you don't have to even worry about your left hand. You don't have to worry about changing it all. So I'm going to do the same, those same 5 syncopations, accents, but I'm going to do it a different way now. We're going to talk about doing it with hitting more or less strings. So you can do this like with the G chord, we can just hit the bottom 2 notes or so, bottom 2 strings. And then when you want the accent, you hit all the strings. So you don't have to change your intensity necessarily. And so this is almost, in some ways, to me, this is easier. And I kind of like it. It sounds a little bit more musical to me because you're removing some notes. It's like, imagine an orchestra, everybody's playing, and then just the cellos are playing. And that's kind of what's happening. You're just, in this case, we're going to just use the bass. We could also go down the top, but we're just going to use the bass notes all the time, but we're going to add all 6 strings when we want the accent. So accent on 1 would sound like this. I'm not really changing how hard I'm hitting the strings. I'm just hitting more strings. Natural, it's a very natural accent. Okay, now we're going to do 1 and 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Now 2 and 4. Now I'm going to change chords so you can hear where the 2 and 4 is. See, this is this. Now I'm going to do accent using the more strings, less string method on 1 and the and of 2. 1. Very common feel. that's 16. But you can see how just accenting or hitting less or more strings, accenting can create a syncopated sound without actually having to miss strings like we had to do when we were doing syncopated patterns. Okay, so that's kind of one of the cool things about accents. You can get a feel without actually having to do the feel so much. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and do the unmuted, but that's going to come in the next video. But just so you can hear it, I'm going to do accents on 1 and 3, or 1 and 2. See, 1 and the and a 2. Using the muted method. So okay, you can hear that, right? All right, now I'm going to show you that. I'm going to do a video. I call it the free range groove. It's the one that opened the video, and I'm doing 16th notes. And basically what I'm doing is I'm playing 16 16th notes, okay, on each chord. So the E, this E chord, then I'm muting the bottom string and I'm playing the same shape, kind of this power chord shape down here at the 4th fret, then I'm going to the 2nd fret, and then I'm going to kind of an A2 chord, open position. And I'm doing 16 strums with each one of those, and I'm I'm accenting every 3rd strum. So with the 16th note pattern, I'm going down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. That means that every other accent's going to be an upstroke. So this one's a little bit more complex. I want to dedicate an entire video to this one, and I think you can get this down if you. It's almost one of those. It's one of those things that you almost have to not think about too much. If you overthink it, you won't be able to do it. And it's going to be one of those strumming patterns when I show it to you that you won't get, and all of a sudden you'll do it and you'll be like, what did I do? I just did it. I did it. So that's what this is. I call it the free range groove. And the reason is it just sounds like the Wild West to me. I've just always liked the sound of this groove. I've used it for 20 years, and it sounds like this. So there's our lesson number 3 for strumming, and it's on accents. The next one is going to be about muting, and that's a really cool way to bring a lot of interesting dynamics to your strumming patterns, okay? God bless you guys. I'll talk to you soon.